Hello everyone, this is Clarix, and today we are working with definitions of statistics and key concepts or key terms. So I just want you to read carefully the definitions that have been provided. And I want you to understand that variable in data has a correlation, a statistic in sample has a correlation, and population in parameter has a correlation. Okay, another way that it can help you comprehend the similarities is that S and S go together, P and P go together, and the only ones that varies is the variables. So we're gonna read into each of the definitions, and then we're gonna analyze the word problem. Okay, so we have the variable is a characteristic that can change from one individual to another. Data is the actual collective value for the variable. So let's say weight changes from person to person, right? And the actual collator values could be one person is 170 pounds, another person is 150 pounds, and so on. A statistic is a numerical calculator from the sample. So let's see. A sample is a smaller group selected from the population study. So usually, as I explained before, population is part of the sample is part of the population. Population usually is a larger value. So the sample is is this portion and a smaller portion from the population. And when we think about the statistic, it could be like percentages, right? Like 15%, let's say the population is um, animals, and the sample of animal that is being studied are dogs, and you make a statement about dogs after evaluating dogs. 15% of dogs are this type of race. I don't really know races of dogs. So that's a statistic. Provide a numerical value from the sample. And finally, when it comes to population, is the entire group, as I say here, and the parameter is a numerical value that describes a characteristic of the entire population. So usually population is being described by the parameter as true average. That's a very common statement, or you can say the approximate average, the the mid average. It depends, but usually the most common sentences utilized to identify the parameter is like true average. Now that we know this information, we're going to go into analyzing each of the problems provided, each of the options provided. So when we think about if one of them is a little like hard, we can skip it, okay, and go to the next one. The 45, so let's read the word problem first of all. University wants to study the average number of hours student athletes train per week. They randomly selected 45, 45 athletes for 500 total students. I know this is a sample, okay, and this is the population. And record the weekly training hours. So I already have an idea of what's happening. So we're going to be matching, and we're going to say that the 45 is athletes selected from the study is the sample because, or is letter C, right? Because letter C, okay, so let me put letter C here in the word sample. Because out of a whole population of student athletes, that is 500, the population is 500, right? 45 of them, which is smaller than that, 45 students are being studied, right? So number one is the sample. This is considered a sample. Now let's go to number two. So number two is the average weekly training hours of 45 athletes. So usually when it comes to number two, we think about, first of all, 45. We know that 45 is a sample, okay? And we know that the sample is being described in these hours, in this example. Um, Sample is being described, and is has the average week, so the average training hours. So that's like a numerical amount. It's not precise, but it's a numerical amount. So that makes me understand that a numerical value is being calculated from the sample. Therefore, it's going to be the statistic, right? So the answer for this is, so we already have, let's say C, wait, C is not sample, this, D is sample, C is a statistic. Okay, so we have sample and a statistic already selected. So let's cross it out. Now, when we think about the recorded weekly training hours for each athlete, so that's a specific number, right? Very specific. And whenever a specific value is being presented and the word recorded or evaluated is given, we need to think about data. Okay, so recorded, observe, those are keywords for data, and therefore this answer is going to be B. Okay, it's going to be B, data. Okay, so when it comes to the number four, we're looking into number four, the weekly training hours for each athlete. The weekly training hour for each athlete. So isn't, I need to skip this one. Let's skip this one. Okay, when we don't understand something, we can skip it, right? So we can go to number five and see what's happening here. Number five, the true average, usually correlated to parameter. Every time there is like a descriptive characteristic, you need to think about parameter, especially, let's say, the true average of weekly training hours of all the students. So this is the population, and this is a description of the population, and therefore it's letting me know that this is going to be the parameter. So this answer is going to be F. And my lines are not very good. Okay, so I'm going to put F. parameter. Okay, last but not least, we have two more. And I think the last one is going to be easier to be identified because it's very specific. It says all 500 students athletes. So that's the entire population, right? So we know that this is E, population. Okay. So now when we have those, the only ones that we had some doubts about is number four because it says the weekly training hours. So it's not in a specific value. Okay, it's like a little more general and is not specific. It's a little more general than data. Data is like an actual value, right? So it's a little more general than data. Therefore, I would say this is our answer, and this is going to be for a variable. Okay, I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching.